Hey friends, today I have for you a feel better flow. So maybe this morning you woke up a little stiff and achy, or if you've been sitting at your desk a while and now you're feeling a little stiff and achy. I did this feel better flow this morning for myself. I was down on the floor with my daughter just talking as she was starting her online school. Kids get to pick all kinds of different positions to work on their computers. And as we were on the floor, I just said, yeah, why not do a little bit of a feel better flow? And as I was thinking about presenting it to you, it made me think about the fluidity that I would like to feel in my body more often. That fluidity that reminds me of water. There are so many lessons that we can learn from nature. And so as we do this feel better flow, maybe take yourself into nature in your mind. Just imagine that you're in a spot with some water flowing. Maybe it's a creek, maybe it's a waterfall, maybe it's just on the shore where the water's going back and forth. Just take a mental break in order to relieve some tension to get that feel better flow. So on your hands and knees to start. And I brought the chair. I'm going to show this to you also if you're at a chair and you can't get on the floor during the day, but we'll start with the on the floor. So starting on hands and knees, toes together, knees apart, sitting back into child's pose and just deepening hips to the heels in child's pose. And just take a few breaths. Water and air flow. So just allow that air to flow in and out of your body. Come back up to all fours. Walk your knees back, your hands forward a little bit to a plank on your knees. Lower down. Let your legs down. And then press up. You can tighten your bottom. You just want to feel a little bit of back bend. Shoulder blades down your back. Lift to whatever feels comfortable. Lift your hips. Go all the way back to child's pose again. Keep focusing on that air flowing in and out. Back up to all fours. Plank on knees. Elbows tuck into your sides as you lower down. Legs come down, press up. Now as you do this, as you get some movement into flexion and extension through your spine, you might feel like you can move a little bit more with each repetition. So we're just going back and forth between a rounded position of the spine, a little bit of strength of the core as we come to this position, lower down, press into the arms, and then into a backward position of the spine. Shoulder blades down your back. Again, can you lift a little bit more with each repetition? If not, that's okay. Back to rounding the spine into child's pose. Give yourself a full 30 seconds in each position. Come back to that plank. You can even hold this plank so it's empowered. Warm those muscles up. It's not always about stretching. Engage those arms to the floor. Lower belly draws up. My bottom even tightens so I get a nice contraction from a lot of muscles. Lower down. And then press up using those strong arms to press up. Lift the hips all the way back to all four, or all the way back to downward. What is this? This is child's pose. All the way back to child's pose. Letting your air, your breath flow like water. Come back up to all fours. Lower it down. Press it up. So you're not using a lot of action of the back muscles here. You're using your arms strongly, shoulder blades down the back to lift. You can squeeze your bottom to keep it nice and comfortable through that low back. Come back to all fours. Step your right foot forward. You can take your hands to your thigh and just lean into this. Maybe the left hand goes down to the floor to hold yourself up and just deeply stretch. Feel that in the knee, the ankle, the back hip. Come back up to a kneeling position, arms overhead. Let the arms flow like water. Right leg comes down, left leg comes up. It's okay to wobble a little bit. Go with that flow, go with the wobble. Don't worry about catching yourself so much. Again, you can keep your left arm just lunging as deeply as you are comfortable. Come back up, arms overhead, arms down. Change the legs. So that transition is a little bit difficult. Shift the weight forward. Don't worry about coordinating it with your breath. Just make sure that you're breathing in and out. Left foot forward. It doesn't matter if you mess up the flow. What feels good in your body? You just need to get some things moving. But for those of you that sit, I always like to get the front of the hips back up to a half kneeling position, stretching deeply. I feel this mostly in the back left hip. You may feel it in the front foot, the front knee. Arms overhead. Maybe you look up. Maybe you don't like that in your neck. Arms come down. Back to the left leg. Shift it forward. Back up to half kneeling. Arms overhead. So that could be the end of your flow. You could do that several more times. Again, whatever feels good. But let me just show you how to do it also on the chair. So let's say you are at an office, in an office space during the day, and you can use the chair, but you really don't want to get down onto the floor. Maybe the benefit of many of us being home is that we can get on the floor, find that space. But you can just come, hands in the chair, sit the hips back, bend the knees, and just elongate. Shift the weight forward, seat firm, hands firmly into the seat, plank position. Let the hips drop a little bit, lift the chest. If you have a rolling chair, not necessarily great, so you have to push that chair up against something. Sit way back. This is more of a downward dog position, but you can bend the knees, spread the feet a little bit, sit really low, get into those hips. Come all the way back up to plank position. Hold that plank position strongly. And then let the hips drop a little bit. Get that backward bending. Strong in the arms, lift the chest. And then lift the hips back to a little bit of a modified downward dog. Maybe you want to do a modified child's pose, whatever feels good. The deeper that you can get sort of with your hips, the more you feel that stretch in your arms. This will definitely energize your legs. Come back up to that plank position. Energize the arms and the core. Let the hips sink. See how that feels. Again, we need that backward bending position. Sit the hips back. So to kind of do that modified flow, you can take your leg up to the chair, arms overhead. Maybe you take your hands to the back of the chair and lean into it a little bit, just to stretch the front of that hip. Come back, transition your feet. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. We're just moving in the hips, ankles, knees, spine, shoulders. We're moving everything, so we're really getting that whole body to flow. A little bit of balance, again, feeling that flow in your body as you try to balance, shift the weight forward. Wow. last time. Left foot up, shift the weight forward, stretch deeply. I feel that in my calf of my back foot, a little bit in my hip, the front of my right hip. It's all about just energizing the body with that movement and that flow. So I hope that gives you a nice little movement break and a mental break too. So just imagine yourself again in nature, watching and observing all of the flow that happens in nature. I probably wanted to do this for you today because, you know, there's so much change going on all around us. Where I live, we're transitioning from really transitioning into fall, so we're moving into winter as the days get cold and the leaves fall. There's so much happening in our world. There's so much unknown. But if you can create some flow within your body, some flow within your mind, allowing that movement to come and go rather than holding on to it or resisting it, that tension that you feel in your body is resistance to the flow, resistance to change that is ultimately going to happen anyway. I'm Stephanie Carter-Kelly, a physical therapist, and I use yoga that brings together body, mind, and spirit in order to heal your pain. It's a path to peace. Have a great rest of your day. Namaste.